Hey there, welcome back to my channel. Let's continue with our series. Today in this episode, we're going to handle all this thing that is we have discussed in our previous episode, right? So here in this diagram, we can see our order service is the essential one where we need to integrate Kafka first. Because while we are creating the order, then we need to push that create order event to Kafka so our catalog service can listen to that event and it can deduct the stock. Then let's dive into the source code. So here in the source code, you can see we have two microservices, catalog and order, right? And I have opened the workspace. That's why both the microservices are displaying right here. And if you open this order service here and inside the source, if you go to utils, you can see we have one directory that is called broker, right? So this broker is the correct directory where we will keep all the broker integration files, right? As an example, if we are going to integrate the Kafka, then this is the right place to place the Kafka files, right? All right, so here inside this broker directory, I'm going to create two files. First file will be our broker.type.ts, right? And one more file we need to create that is called message.broker, or maybe message-broker.ts, right? Because that's not a kind of type. So let's understand why these two files are needed, right? The broker type, where we are going to declare a couple of interfaces or types that is going to help us to generically use the message broker throughout of our application, right? So today we are going to implement Kafka, let's say, and then let's say in future we are not happy with the Kafka, maybe we can implement something else also. Then we no need to write all the codes together, right? So we can just we can change the implementation right here, then our application will be remain untouched, right? So this is the way it's gonna work, right? So let's try to do that first. So first of all, we will be adding some codes here in the broker type. Let me type the code quickly. As you can see, I have just created one type that is called message broker type, right? So this message broker type is going to help us to keep the loose coupling of our Kafka integration with our application. That means at any point of time, if we are going to change our Kafka integration, all right, the message broker integration, then definitely we need to simply just need to change this implementation here, right? We no need to touch our business logic throughout of the application. Let's say if we are going to call this connect producer, then we no need to touch our service or some other places to change this message broker at all, right? So we are care about only this type, right? So this is the way we can keep our application loosely coupled, because as you can see, we are pretty much writing the functional codes in throughout of the project, right? And I would like to encourage you keep the similar type of conventions for your other project as well as just to follow the clean code. So where you can gain a lot of flexibility when it comes to refactor or utilize or maybe use of some different technology to your application. And now I think we can break it down all the functions together, right? So let's try to dig deeper a little bit. So you can see we have our connect producer, right? So while we are connecting to our producer, then we are passing a type also. This t means type, right? So what type of producer we are going to connect, that is where we need to pass it here. And you can see as a promise, we are returning it back as well as. While you are connecting to the producer, then definitely at some point in future, you need to do some operations. Maybe it's necessary. Maybe Kafka is not required, but some other type of message broker are going to be needed right after connection. That broker or maybe producer need to do some other operations as well as. So in this case, if you're not returning it back, then definitely you need to expose another function for that, right? So that's why we're returning this one. Like once we are connecting producer, what type of producer or what type of broker we are going to use, we are passing it on, and we are doing the implementation right here inside this function, then we're returning back the same. And this connect producer is simply a kind of void function. You can see we're just calling it out whatever the producer connected today here, then we are going to disconnect right after they get this job done, right? So similar applies for publish function as well as. So while we are publishing, right, then we are simply passing some kind of input data right here, right? As of now, we are just keeping unknown. We'll be jumping into right here and publish, like simply taking some data, and whatever connected the producer is there, that producer will going to send the message from here, right? So inside the implementation, we're going to call that function. It is going to directly send the data, right? So in the consumer also, we are doing the same thing, just like producer. We are accepting the type here, and right after the connected to the consumer, we are returning it back, right? And disconnect also same. And subscribe, you can see we are doing some different way, right? So here you can see one function we are referring to from our service, that is we need to pass it on, right? While we'll be going to handle the message. It's a kind of callback function, you can say also, right? So while we're subscribing, that function, that message handler, we need to inject from outside. So, and we need to provide the topic as well as, right? So it's a kind of void function. While we are subscribing, that message handler are going to tackle whatever the message it is coming through, right? So these are the things we are going to implement, but we need to do a little bit tweaking right here. As you can see here, publish data is unknown, and this message handler is a function. So what we are going to fill it right here, right? That is we need to define. Then let's do one thing. We are going to add some code together, right? So here inside these types, you can see we have a type directory. As of now, we don't have anything, right? So let's try to create a couple of things right here. So inside the types, I'm going to create one file. This is going to be our index.ts file, right? And we're going to create one more file here. This is going to be subscription type .ts, right? So here inside the subscription type, let's try to create a couple of things, right? First of all, we're going to create one enum. So this is order service. So definitely whatever the events we are going to raise it here, it should have to call just like order event, right? So let's try to call it order event, right? So here inside the order event, we can say create order, and another, this is not going to be capital, maybe we can say create order. Then we can say cancel order, right? So order can be create, order can be cancelled. So we are, as of now, we are not working on the update order, because our order will be created once, right? So we are not going to tweak our order anymore. So if we need to tweak the order, right, then right before placing the order, we need to do that, right? So this is also can be possible. This is often happening in different industry, but by keeping eye on our business logic, we are only having these two events, like create order and cancel order. Either you can create it, or maybe you can cancel it, right? Now let's create one more type here, right? Export type, topic type will be, we can say order event, right? So this is not order event exactly, so we can say order events, or maybe we can say catalog events. So this topic type will be needed, because while we are implementing our Kafka, then definitely we need to create some kind of topic. So maybe we can change this name to, instead of topic, maybe we can keep it something else also. But let's try to keep this way for a while. Maybe later stage, maybe we can change it to based on other implementation, right? And so we have our order events, so which is going to, while we are sending our messages, then we know which message will do what exactly, right? So this is what we are keeping it right here. And topic type, like we need to create one topic, right? We need to create topics where we'll be grouping our messages, right? As I said in this diagram, right? You might have thinking, hey, please, Jay, no more diagram. But still, I would like to show you like what we are going to create. So this order events, right? This is we are going to create, right? This is what we need right here, right? So this one. And now this is perfectly fine. Then one more thing is going to be needed, right? So let's try to create that one. So this time we're going to create one interface. Export interface. This is going to be message type, because once we are having the topic, right, then we need to create the record also. You can see this record, right? So where we will be having header, key, value, timestamp, etc. Right? So those are the things also we need to declare first. It is not necessary to declare it, but the way we are writing our code, you can see in the broker, like we have a type, right? So we need to strictly define all these types, like while we are subscribing this function, exactly what it will going to assume or what it will going to accept as a kind of type. So if we are going to define all the stuff beforehand, then you will not fall into trap in terms of like typing mistakes or something, or because your function know what exactly it's needed as a kind of input. That is what we are going to define right here, right? So this message type will be simply what we are going to do, headers, right? Headers. And this is going to be optional. Sometimes maybe it's going to be exist, or sometimes it's not, right? Record, and this record will be string of any, you can say any, because it may have object as well as. Then secondly, event. So what we are going to pass it right here as a kind of message type, this is going to be event. And what event? The order event. As you can see, we have just created one enum right there. So this is exactly necessary right there, right? And last thing, we need the payload, or maybe you can say data as well as, right? So let's try to put as data, and this time data is a kind of record, right? So message type will be having our headers, event, and data, right? Now this subscription type is done, right? So let's try to go to index.ts file. Let's try to export star from subscription type, right? So we have exported everything. So now we can directly refer to types, and we can get all these things from here. Let's try to close it out. And now here inside this broker type, right, let's try to tweak all these functions as I said, right? So in the beginning, what we are going to do, we're going to create one interface, right? So this is going to be export interface publish type. So what we are going to publish, right? So we know the message, we have the message, right? So we have all those things together, but those are the things are this. If you go here again, the subscription, you can see the message type. This is only applicable for subscriber only, right? So while our function is going to accept that thing, that particular schema, exactly, it's going to be applicable for here, right? But publish, like publisher also need to publish something, right? Can you see the data is unknown, right? So this is what we need to define right here. So let's try to assign this publish type right here, right? Publish type. So now you can see publisher, while our publisher is going to publish, then the data has to match with this interface. So it doesn't matter what kind of the message broker you are implementing, maybe Kafka or maybe Nets or maybe SQS, but publish type has to be matched, right? That is what we are going to define here. So let's try to define a couple of things here. This is going to be first of all headers. So headers will be needed because why? While you are sending the message to your subscriber, then subscriber also needs some kind of information from the user, right? It cannot be directly the consuming the data and inserting the data somewhere. That's not the case, because you can imagine, let's say we're sending some payment information, right? Payment information belongs to one user, right? And those information we are sending through the message broker. Then the other service, the other microservice, how that microservice will get to know like this is the authenticated user data. That header will be helping us in order to authenticate by decoding all these parameters, like, hey, this is the authenticated user, authorized user. So we can purely process this payment data right there. So that's why the headers always need to keep, maybe somehow some people not providing that way, the headers, but it's recommended like while you are communicating with the message broker somewhere where the sensitive informations are needed, make sure you're sending the headers as well as, right? So in this case, let's try to set header as a record, string, and any, right? And we are going to say topic, right? So in our case, topic will be what? Topic will be, as I mentioned right here, if you go to subscription type, we have a topic type, right? Can you see this topic type? So that means while our broker or publisher is going to publish the data, then publisher cannot publish anything to any topic. It has to be this one, either order events or catalog event, right? So whatever the topics will be available, then you can assign it here, right? Now let's go to the broker type again, right? So let's try to add this one, topic type, maybe topic type, right? So it is imported there. And the next one, we can say event, because this topic is perfectly fine, but what kind of message we are sending, what kind of record exactly we are sending. So if you go again to this diagram, you can see we have the records, create order, update stock, payment confirm. So this kind of stuff, you know, the create order, how as soon as we are receiving any kind of record right there, then how our consumer will know, like, you know, what exactly need to do, right? We have our producer is producing the message and sending to the partition or topic, right? And our consumer is consuming that one, but consumer don't know like what to do exactly, right? So there is some kind of event has to be involved, right? Then only we can know, oh, this is create order, and this is update stock, or this is payment confirm, right? So this is what we are going to do right here in the event as well. So let's try to add the events. So what kind of events we are having? If you go to subscription type, you can see we have our events, order events. So order event can be exist like, you know, create order and cancel order. While our publisher will publish again the message, right, the data, then publisher only can be raise that particular events only, not other than else, right? So let's try to add all these events, order event, right? And finally, what we are going to pass, we are going to send the message, right? The message will be from of record and string, right? So this is the type exactly it's going to be needed. So this publish type will be having our order, topic, event, and message, right? So now you can see it's pretty much closer, like, but still we have this subscribe need to resolve. You can see this is still function, right? So instead of this function, this function has to have some kind of type, right? Now the last riddle we need to fix, the subscribe, right? So here you can see we have our message handler and where we are passing the function. So somehow we need to use some kind of type here instead of function, right? But that type also has to be itself function, because it will be, we are going to use that one, the message handler, as a kind of callback function, right? And that callback function has to strictly type like these are the input we are going to accept, or those are the inputs only we are going to perform, right? Now we are going to export one type, export type. This is called message handler. And we are going to say input, and this input will be, then this input will come from our subscription, right? So if you go to subscription, you can see the message type. So here this subscription, you can see the message broker, the header, event, and data. Those are the things will come from our subscription, right? Let's go to implement this one, right? Message type, and finally it will going to be void, right? So you can leave it like this, or maybe you can keep it like this as well. So let's try to keep it void, right? Perfect. Then now you can see our message handler is ready. Let's try to hook up with this. So instead of function, we are going to say message handler, right? Perfect. Now our type is ready, like message broker type is ready. So this is the time where we are going to implement our message broker implementation, right? Let's go here. Let's try to close all the files from here. Let's go here to messagebroker.ts, right? So here, let's try to implement our message broker type. So in this case, export const, and we are going to say message broker. Message broker will be our message broker, right? And this message broker will be capitalized, right? And then if you go here, right? First of all, let's try to quick fix add import, right? So we can have our message broker type perfectly import from our broker type. And now it is complaining. Why it is complaining? Because we have not implemented the message broker here, right? So let's try to add all the missing methods, right? So go to quick fix and add missing properties, right? Now you can see it is implemented, right? We have our connect producer, we have disconnect producer, publish, connect consumer, disconnect consumer, and subscribe. Everything is correct, right? All right. So now our message broker is not complaining at all because it has all the placeholder properties, right? Then what we are going to do, so this is the right time where we are going to integrate our Kafka, and let's try to install our Kafka library first, right? So right now here I'm inside this order service, right? So there are a lot of Kafka clients and libraries are available. So maybe you can utilize one of them. So in our case, what we're going to do, we are going to use the Kafka.js, right? So let's try to install Kafka.js. So yarn add Kafka.js, Perfect. So now we have our Kafka.js in our Node module, right? So if you go to package.json file, definitely you will able to see the Kafka.js. All right, to implement the Kafka, we need a couple of things beforehand, right? So let's try to add all those things first, all right? The configuration, let's say. Configuration properties. And here, let's try to use the const. This is going to be client ID and our client ID. So what will be our client ID in terms of we can pick these things from our nd.env, all right? So you can say process.env env.client ID. Otherwise, we can by default we will say this is going to be our order service, right? So this is going to be our order service. Then second thing, we need to have a group ID because we are going to use the, as I said in the diagram, all right? So let's go here, let's check it out, right? So as I said, like our order service can have consumer as well as, so we are going to write the producer and consumer both, right? So to hook up with the consumer, then definitely we need to have a group ID. So where we can just group all the consumers together. You can see we may have multiple consumer. As an example, the order service may receive a lot of traffic. Then we need to clone or maybe we need to make multiple instances of order service. Then all the order service will listen to our this particular topic like order events. Then our consumer has to be grouped together, right? Then only we can efficiently consume that particular topic or particular record from our topic, right? Otherwise, we will be ended up with like multiple consumer will receive the same topic as a kind of panout. All right, you can say, all right. So panout in terms of like all the consumers will receive one message, all right, one message for each. This is called exactly the panout model, right? So we are not going to talk about the panout model, but for receiving efficiently, we need to have a group ID. That is how we are going to group the consumers together. So let's try to do that, right? So in this case, group ID process.env.group ID, or we can say order service group, right? Now, one more thing we need, that is called the brokers. Why not broker, right? So it may have a multiple brokers. In this diagram, you can see we have a multiple brokers, right? So that's why it is not broker, it's brokers, right? And maybe we are going to discuss about that brokers topic, multiple brokers topic, while we are going to discuss about the zookeeper. Because in upcoming episode where we are not going to use the zookeeper anymore. So because zookeeper is a kind of tool that is a kind of extra liability for the Kafka to handle manage all these configurations. So in an advanced way, the Kafka is just to try to get rid of zookeeper, all the dependencies. So they're just like implementing some good feature that is called craft, right? So with the help of the craft mode, you can manage all the configurations inside the box rather than relying on the zookeeper. That is we are going to discuss very nicely. All right. So let's focus on the topic. So right now we have a multiple brokers. That's why we have the broker here, right? Brokers here. So that's why we have multiple brokers. That's why it is going to be brokers here. Const brokers. And brokers will be having our process.env.brokers, right? You can keep like that, or maybe what we can do, let's say the first broker 1, all right? We can say broker 1 like this, and maybe broker 2 or broker 3, whatever we are going to implement all the broker list, we can define it there. So this is not a complicated topic, but this is in the beginning. I don't want to make it too complicated to understand for you, right? So let's try to keep it that way. Now our client, group ID, brokers, everything is ready. Now let's try to onboard our Kafka here, right? So here const Kafka will be our new Kafka. All right. So here inside this Kafka, let's try to import Kafka first, right? So quick add import. The Kafka is imported. So right now Kafka is needed client ID. So that client ID, if you go here, right? The client ID will be our client ID. So this client ID, right? Then now we need to set the brokers as well. As brokers will be all the brokers, right? And we need to put the log label, so we can just like log whatever it comes back from our Kafka right after sending the message or receiving the message, or if any kind of errors are there. You can skip these log labels as well as this is not mandatory to keep it. This is really optional, but still this is really meaningful while we're keeping it, right? So in this case, you can keep the log label from our .env file also, but I would say absolutely we are only interested on info, right? So in that case, we can say log label. This is also, it will going to import from Kafka.js. Then let's say log info, right? So Kafka is ready there, right? So now let's declare two variables. One is called let producer. So producer will be our producer. This producer will come from our Kafka producer, right? And let consumer. Then consumer will be come from our consumer, right? This is also come from our Kafka. You can see it is imported right here, right? Now we have our producer and consumer. So what we are going to do, once we are initialized, once you're connecting to the producer, these two variables are going to hold the instance of the producer and the consumer right here. So that means at any point of time, if you're going to connect to the producer, or if you're going to publish the messages, right? Or maybe subscribe the messages, you no need to connect once again. So it is always going to check like if you are going to import this message broker file right there, right? This message broker type right there, then it is always look for the instance first. If it is not exist, then it will instantiate new one. If it is already exists, then it will going to execute, or it will going to reuse the same one from here, right? And I'm going to add some code quickly because maybe I can save some of your time. So maybe we can move faster, but nothing to worry. I'm going to explain each and every bit of the code, right? All right, so we have added all the codes quickly, right? Then now let's have a deep look what we did here, right? So first of all, you can see right after the producer and consumer, we have created one function that is called create topic, right? So let's try to visit one by one. So why this create topic is needed? In the previous episode, I have already explained someone has to be responsible for create the topic. So who will be responsible? Who will be eligible candidate? So in this case, the producer will be the one who will be responsible for creating the topic. Or topic can be created in the two ways, in terms of like we can create it manually, right? While if you are going to create it manually, then definitely you need to create it from your console only, right? And other way is while we are publishing any data to our Kafka, right? So with the help of producer, at that time the Kafka will check it out whether this topic we are sending the message, right, or record. So in that case, the topic is exist or not. If it doesn't exist, right, it'll by default create one for you, the provided name, right? Whatever the name we are provided right here. So based on that name, it is going to create one for us, right? And in that case, you are not going to get the much more flexibility in terms of like adding the setting stuff, right? And because this topic will be by default, it will assume the partitions, replica, and everything, whatever the default settings, it will going to accept that one only, right? So in that case, what we did here, so we are going to create the topic while we are spinning our application server for the first time, right? So while we are going to connect the producer for the first time, then it will going to create the topic, right? As I said, the create topic is responsibility of the producer, right? So that's why this create topic is going to help us to do whatever the topic essential for our application. As an example, in our case, only one topic is essential. You can see here, create topic. This topic is a kind of array of strings, right? So you can put it multiple also. Let's say order events, or maybe catalog events, or payment events, etc. So in this case, you can see we are constructing an array of topics, and while we are providing the strings, and it is mapped through, and it is adding these settings also here. You can see here we are providing the name of the topic, and we are providing the numbers of partitions. So how many partitions we are going to spread all the records through, right? And this is the replication factor that is based on available brokers. So as of now, we are targeting to run or spin only one broker, right? In the upcoming lectures, we are going to spin the multiple. Then we are going to work on this replication factor as well, as right, to understand better the replication and the fault tolerance, right? And you can see right here, we are connecting our admin, right? Kafka admin. This Kafka admin is coming from here, right? From Kafka, from Kafka.js. And we are connecting here, and we are trying to list it out all the existing topic from admin, Kafka admin. And you can log in also, you can console log also here, existing topics, right? And we are finding it out, all the loop through all the topics that is we have from here, right? We're looping through, right? And we are checking it out if the existing topic exists, if it includes the topic we have provided right here. You can see this T is from this topic that is we have created here. And if it doesn't exist, let's create one for us, right? So it's numbers of topic we are providing. It's going to look through that many of cycles, and we will check it out. Like if it doesn't exist, then create it one, right? And finally, if it is created, then we are going to disconnect, right? And this is not going to happen every time, right? This is going to happen only for once, right? And in other cases, let's say if we are restart our producer, then also it is going to call. But at that time, you can imagine like the topic will be already exist, right? Then it will not going to create one for us, right? So this is the way these create topic functions gonna work, right? This create topic function is not a part of our message broker type, so it is working outside of the box, right? And now let's go to our connect producer, right? So you can see in the connect producer we are just like creating the topic here, and we're checking it out whether if we have producer exist or not. If we have producer exist, this producer is coming from here, line number 16. You can see producer and consumer, two variable we have added right there, right? And if the producer is exist right there, right, then return it, right? Don't use don't instantiate another connection, like we don't want to connect once more, right? So what you can do, maybe we can put a console log here. Consumer already connected, let's say, right? And if it is not there, let's try to put one more console log, right? Producer already connected with existing connection, connected with a new connection, let's say, new connection. So then you can see, you can verify this use case as well as in your console, right? Every time you are going to send a message or publish a message, then you can get to know like whether it is using the existing one or a new one, right? So if the producer is exist, then we are returning a producer we need to cast it because we don't know what kind of type it will come from, right? So eventually producer is a producer, like it's coming from Kafka, right? That's why we need to just cast it like this way, right? If producer doesn't exist, right, then this condition will not fulfill. Then it will come right here. Then what we're doing right here, we are just like Kafka producer create partitioner, all right? Partitioner, default partitioner, that is we are using right here is a kind of producer, right? And finally we are connecting with the producer, right? And we are returning the producer from here, right after connection. So this is very simple function, this connect producer. We are checking it out if producer is connected, right? Producer is true, then just like disconnect the producer. Now let's come to the publisher part. So it should not supposed to export, right? And in the publisher part, while we are going to publish the record, then you can see as a kind of input we are accepting the data, right? That is publish type, and in return we are returning as a boolean, right? And right before publishing, right, we need to grab the producer, right? So in this case we are not accepting any kind of input from here, right? Because those are the functions exactly it's going to execute from this scope only, right? So if it is going to execute from this file scope, then definitely it will going to have the access of the producer and consumer from here itself, and Kafka as well as, and all the variables, right? That's why we are grabbing the publisher from the connect producer function, right? From here, this function. So here this time, while we are connecting the producer, then we are providing the type. So what will be type? Type will be our producer, right? This producer is coming from our Kafka.js from here. Now we are sending the message, and this is our result. So you can console log the result as well as console log the result. Publishing result, right? Then here you can see in the result, producer is sending the message topic to which topic? This data topic, right? That is exactly this coming from here as well as, right? So if you go to the publish type, you can see we have our topic, we have header, event, messages, right? So and this topic will be our topic, and the messages inside the messages we are sending all the data in terms of like headers, that is it is coming from publish type again, right? And the key will be our data.event. In the value, while we are sending the data, then we need to make sure the data has to be in the string form, right? That's why we are using JSON stringify data.message. And finally, we are evaluating our result. All right, so maybe what we can do, maybe we can send like this way, length greater than 0. So in this case, if result has any kind of value, then it will return. All right, if it doesn't have any kind of value, then definitely it will return false. Right? This is how the producer part will going to work. Right? Now let's go to the consumer part. All right, so now let's discuss about the consumer. So if we have consumer exist, then we are simply returning it right there, right? And if consumer doesn't exist, then we are creating our consumer here, right? And we are connecting it, and finally we're returning the consumer from here, right? And as you can see here, every time while we are returning the consumer, then we're receiving the type as well. So at least while we are connecting our consumer, if any further operation is going to be needed, so at least we know what type of call or what are the functionality will be available right after connect to the consumer, right? So we can get all the autocompletes right there. And the disconnect consumer is very simple. Like it is checking it out whether if we have any consumer right there, right? If it is already exists, then we are disconnecting it. And the similar way we can handle it, like right after disconnect, maybe we can set the consumer as a kind of maybe undefined or maybe null, right? That is we can handle it. In the subscribe function, you can see we have our message handler. This is a kind of callback function, right? And we are using the topic as well as, so where we are potentially providing what type of topic type we are accepting here while we are subscribing, right? And first of all, we are connecting to our consumer. Here you can see we are providing the type of the consumer. This consumer, it is coming from here also, right? From the Kafka.js. And right after connect to the consumer, right? So you can see we are getting the consumer back here, right? So and here we are subscribing our topic, right? You can see we are providing this topic, we are assigning here as well as, right? So maybe what we can do, you can omit this topic from here, right? Or maybe you can keep it like both the way it's gonna work. And we are saying the beginning from true, right? If the producer is sending a lot of messages, or maybe some of the record has been published to the topic, at the time while consumer will come back, then it will subscribe everything from the beginning. And finally here we are running our consumer, right? So inside the run consumer, right? Consumer run, you can see its message, right? Every time we are receiving any message, we'll be having our topic, partition, and messages, right? Here we are just spreading it out from the parameter, and we are checking it out. If the topic is not order events, then return it, or maybe we can just continue also. And maybe what we can do, maybe we can reverse this logic as well as, maybe we can check it out. If the topic is order events, then we can put everything together. Then also this is also gonna work. That is we are going to do like while we are connecting with our message broker, right? Then we can just alter the logic also. That also can be possible. But you can see while we are constructing our input message, then we are assigning the header, that is we have accept in our message header. And event also we are accepting from our message key, right? That is we are casting as a kind of order event, right? And in the data, that the message value will be come from our message. That is we're checking it out. If we have the message value, then parse the JSON, because as you can remember here, if you go in the publish message, you can see we're sending our message as a kind of string, right? And that's why we need to parse it here, right? You can see that's why we're parsing. And finally, right after construction of this input message, we are passing it on to the message handler, to this callback function. So that message handler can handle the further operations from here, right? By adding this consumer commit offset, right, we are confirming to Kafka like we have processed that message successfully, right? Then at any point of time, if our consumer is crashed, right, while it is going to come back again, then it will not process all the messages from the beginning, right? And now we can see all the codes are covered correctly. Now let's try to hook up everything together here, right? So in the message broker type. So here I'm going to remove all these things from there, right? Then I think this is perfect. And disconnect producer as well as, and the publish as well as, and now connect consumer as well as, and disconnect consumer, and subscribe also, right? Right, so subscribe. This is going to be subscribed. So make sure we are complying all this all the all the protocols in terms of, that's why actually it is giving the error. So let's try to dig it deeper. So what kind of header we have in the subscribe? Okay, topic is not a string exactly, because topic has to be topic type. Topic type. That's why it is returning the error. Right? Now if you go here, I think this time it should have to work. Let's try to grab this one. Go again, broker. Here. It has to like this. This is not message broker type, right? Because it's a handler, right? So maybe we forgot to add the handler. So this one, right? Now it is gone, right? Perfect. So now our broker is ready. So this is the time where we can implement the broker in our application. So where we are going to implement. So let's go to Express app. So we will be doing a little bit modification of the Express app. So here inside this Express app.ts file, we will add a little bit code, right? So first of all, what we are going to do, we are going to declare one function here, right? Maybe const Express app will be async. Right? So now let's try to move all the codes to inside the function, right? So till here. Perfect. Then what we are going to do, export, we can say export default also can be possible. Otherwise what we can do directly, we can say export const. Right, so this is the way also it's gonna work, right? So here, right after the logger, HTTP logger, what we can do, we'll be calling our producer here, right? So in this case, let's say const producer will be await, right? So we can apply await because we have marking this Express app function as a kind of async, right? So let's try to do that. So in this case, let's say message broker connect producer, right? So it's automatically imported from our message broker, right? So why it is coming from message broker? So somehow it has to come from our broker, right? So let's go ahead here, index.ts file. You can see we have not exported it. So let's try to export it. Export star from broker type, and along with export all from, right, and message broker, right? So now it will going to be easily accessible from there, right? So let's try to remove this broker. Cool, our message broker is there, right? So here, while we are connecting our producer, you can see it is accepting one kind of type also, right? So we need to somehow inject the type, all right? So let's try to provide the type. So in this case, we're going to use producer, and this producer has to come from our Kafka.js, right? So it is imported right here, right? You can see this is imported. And now producer is there, that's perfectly fine, and it is connected also. Now, maybe what we can do, we can see like if producer is connected or not. So let's say, we can say producer, and as soon as we are connecting with the producer, you can see we are getting all the events from there, because it is, while it is connecting the producer, it is returning the producer along with the type, right? Can you see? Producer is a kind of producer type that is from our Kafka.js. So now we're going to listen to the on event, right? On event, and we will say producer connect, right? So on producer connect, maybe we can log a message as an example, right? So here we can put console.log producer connected. So this is the producer part, right? So let's assume our order service is producer also, or maybe consumer also. In this case, what we are going to do, we are going to connect to our consumer. So const consumer await message broker connect to consumer. So this consumer also we need to import from our Kafka.js, right? Now it is imported. Now similar way we can do like the consumer on connect, right? And now you can see our consumer also having the console log. Once our consumer is also connected successfully, we can get this console log from here, right? Now this is the part for connecting part, right? So producer is connected, consumer is connected, and consumer can consume the message. So how we can consume the message? So in this part, so let's say we can segregate the part. This is the first part, first step, connect to producer and consumer, right? And this is the second part, right? So if maybe second part, subscribe to a topic, all right? Or publish the message, right? So if it is consumer, then subscribe to a topic, or if it is producer, then publish the message, right? Definitely the publish message is not going to handle from here. So we are going to handle the publish message inside the order routes, right? So now the second step is, if we are a consumer, then definitely we need to implement the subscribe topic, right? So let's try to subscribe our topic here, right? So in this case, await message broker dot subscribe, right? And inside the subscribe, what we need to pass it right here. So inside the subscribe, what we need to pass here. So one is the handler, all right, and another one is topic type. So this message handler is a kind of function type, right? So this function type, we can provide it something like this way, right? And this is our function, right? And here in events, if you go here, right, and you can see it is giving the code sense, right? So either we can subscribe to our order events topic, or maybe catalog events topic. So let's go with the order events topic, right? So now let's go ahead here. We are going to put some kind of parameter, right? Definitely this is the kind of inline function we are using right here. Maybe instead of this inline function, all right, or instead of this lambda, what we can do, maybe we can hook up with our handler, right? That is we can see like how we can do that in our catalog service, right? Because in our order service is not a consumer, it is only producer. But I'm gonna show you, like, right after producing an event, how the consumer gonna work, right? So we will be jumping right after some time, like maybe in the catalog service. But for a while, let's try to test it out, all these scenarios in terms of like producing the messages and sending to the topic, and how we can consume on behalf of consumer. So in this case, we are just like, our order service is acting as a kind of producer as well as a consumer as well as, right? So this function, we are going to hook it up with our catalog service. So definitely we are going to remove this one from here. But let's try to just try to print it out, right? So in this case, let's say console log, maybe we can say console log, and we will say consumer receive message, right? And what will be the message body? Console log the message received, like this, right? And this message we need to define it here also, right? Perfect. So this message is a kind of message type, right? Perfect. All right, so our Express app is ready to implement, but right before implement, make sure we are returning the app as well as, because this function is not returning anything, right? So let's try to return the app, right? Perfect. Now let's go to our server, and here what we can do, this Express app will be no more available. So instead of this, we can say Express app, and here we need to, right before listening to our Express, let's try to create an instance of Express app. So Express app will be await Express app. So now while we are instantiating our Express app, then all the process will be take place, along with our producer, and the consumer also will be going to connect, and our subscriber, all right, the consumer will be subscribing to the topic, and it will listening to certain topic, right? Then as soon as producer is going to fire anything, then it will be going to receive the data, and it will act on based on that, right? And now our server is ready, right? So we can spin the server, but the producer is connected, but producer is not sending any message, right? So how we can send the message? So let's go to our order routes here, right? So here inside the order route, while we're just creating our orders, then what we can do, we can send the message to our message broker, right? So here, let's say publish the message, right? So how we can publish the message? So here in the third step, let's try to send the message, right? So to send the message, again, we need to call the await message broker.publish, right? Publish. And inside publish, what we can do, we need to provide the data, right? So in this case, let's try to keep like this way, right? And here we are going to construct the message. So first of all, we need to define the topic. So what topic we are going to send? You can see like we have 2 topics as of now. So we are interested on sending the messages to our order events topic, right? Right after the topic, we need to provide the headers as well as. So let's try to pass the headers, and inside the headers we can provide token, and as a token, whatever the headers we are receiving in our request, that is we can pass it on. So let's try to pass that one, request header authorization, right? And right now what we need to do, we need to provide the event, right? So event, you might have remember already we have created one event, right? So that is going to be order event, right? So order event, inside the order event enum, what are the order event enums are available? Let's say create order, all right? Not cancel order, create order. All right, so right after the event, we need to provide our message, right? So let's try to provide the message. And message will be our the order item. So in this case, let's say order ID will be 1, let's say, and we can say items, right? So in this case, item will be kind of array, and in this case, let's say product ID and quantity, right? So those are the things we're providing, right? Not the price exactly, right? Let's say this one. And one more parameter, one more thing we can pass it on. Let's say there are 2 quantities, right? 2 items, right? So in this case, let's try to add one more, product ID 2, quantity 2. So these are the data we are going to publish, right? So right before publishing the data, right, make sure we have our order logic on place, right? Order create logic, right? So it has to be right before sending this message. Once our order is successfully created, then we are going to publish this message, right? Perfect. So now our order service is ready to spin. But right before spinning our order service, we need to spin the Kafka server, all right? So let's go ahead and spin the Kafka server. So here inside this workspace, so what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna create one more directory. This is called, not here exactly, maybe what I can do, maybe file, maybe add folder to workspace. This is going to be not a new folder, I'd say, right? This is going to be broker, right? And add it. So inside the broker, I'm going to create a new file. This is going to be docker compost.yaml file, right? Docker compost.yaml, right? So here we are going to write a couple of lines. Perfect. So now we have a very simple docker compost.yaml file, right? And you can see we are keeping 2 very simple services. One is Zookeeper, another one is a Kafka. And we are trying to keep the configurations is minimalistic. You can see only we are adding the environment variables right here. That is called Zookeeper client port number 2181. And we are exposing the port number as well as. And we are using the Confluent image, right? For the Zookeeper and the Kafka bot. Right, and you can see while we are running our Kafka, we are defining the depends on Zookeeper. So as soon as Zookeeper is going to start, then only it's going to work, right? Then we are adding all the environment variables. We are saying that broker ID is 1, and we have our Zookeeper connect URL as well as, right? And finally, we are adding the Kafka listener also plain text that is going to be localhost 9092, and for advertised listener also we are just putting it like localhost 9092, right? And finally we are adding the offset like Kafka offset topic replication factor is 1, right? And exposing the port number is 9092, right? So now this docker compose file we are going to spin, all right? And we will check it out whether we are able to connect our order service correctly or not, right? All right, so now we can spin our docker compose file, all right? So to spin your docker compose file, definitely you need to install the Docker desktop for your machine. Based on your architecture, based on your operating system, please make sure you have installed Docker desktop on your machine, right? So in my machine already I do have the Docker desktop installed. If you go here, you can see like it is already there, right? And right now let's try to spin our Docker compose file. Right now currently I'm here inside this the broker directory. Let's try to spin it out. Docker compose hub. All right, Docker compose is running correctly. So you can see our Zookeeper also running correctly and Kafka also running correctly. So that means there is no any error. So if you see any error, then definitely you need to look into like why these errors are happening, right? So to make sure like your Kafka and Zookeeper bot are running correctly, then only your order service is going to able to connect with both the service, right? So now what we can do, otherwise what we can do, we can just confirm to whether it is running or not. So go to your Docker desktop, right? Go to dashboard. Now here you can see like here inside you can see we have our broker, right? So there are a few other stuff also it's running in my machine, right? But you can see inside the broker both the containers are running. You can see it is running correctly, right? If you see somehow like it is not running, or because this is already I have stopped, right? And this is also another container that I was running with the help of a Docker compost file. You can see this is stopped right now, so it will going to be grayed out. So if you can see this is a kind of slight little bit green color, then definitely you can assume like this is correctly running, right? So now if you see in the port, like this is 9092 and 2181, right? So these are the ports are running correctly. So let's go ahead and close this Docker desktop first. And what we are going to do, we are going to split another terminal, and here we can spin our order service. Let's try to go back to our main directory, right? So what you can do right now, let's go to our order service, right? So here, let's try to install if any pending libraries are there, right? So I think yarn, only yarn, right? So there is no any pending libraries are there. So let's try to spin our server. This is going to be like yarn dev. So it may take a little bit time. Maybe it depends on your server and all. So now it seems like our service is it's try to spinning up, right? But I can see there's some kind of errors are there. So we can debug together, right? Localhost 9092, but you can see like our consumer is not be able to connect. Somehow some issues are going on. So why exactly it's not be able to connect it, right? So let's try to debug it together. So if we go here in order service, you can see in the source code and the broker, right? So if you go to the broker, then you can see in the message broker, we don't have the environment variables right there. Maybe environment variables are there, but it's not be able to hook it up correctly, right? So in this case, what we can do, let's go to environment, right? So here we can just copy all these things from here, and let's go to our env file. Here we can put the environment variables. So in this case, like our client ID will be our order service, right? So let's try to put like this way, and we can omit this all the quotations, double quotations, and the group ID will be our order service, right? So order service group. Then our brokers also, broker 1 will be our, let's say, localhost, right? Localhost. Perfect. So now let's try to close it out and try to spin once more. Now can you see it is consumer is connected and producer also connected. Producer connected with a new connection, and it is connected right now. So the issue was like we have not added the environment variables here, and we just try to connect our system, right? Our microservice right there. So now this is the time where we are going to test it out all the endpoints. So what I can do, maybe I can shrink a little bit this window so you can see the console there, and we are going to bring in the Postman also, so at least we can see the logs right there. So let's go to Postman. So maybe what we can do, I'm going to drag this window to a different window, right? The same window where we are coding, right? Doing the code stuff. Now you can see the endpoint that is we are using for 9002, right? And this is the order endpoint that is going to be 9002. And you can see the transaction number is 1234, right? So let's try to, this is a kind of post call, right? The transaction number is fine. And additionally, what I'm doing right here, if you can see in the authorization, it is inheriting auth from the parent, right? So in your case also, you can, maybe you can add some authorizations, just like go to authorization, select the bearer token, and grab any kind of bearer token just to test it out, like whether our consumer is able to get the bearer token or not, right? So if you are going to create the order from our producer, right? So let's try to do that. In this case, in my case, I have already added this bearer token, right, from our some different lecture, right? And I'm going to create the order. Let's try to hit this endpoint. Can you see it is just like it's published the message and received the message as well as instantly, you can see, right? So let's try to investigate a little bit the logs, right? So first of all, these are the stuff like, from till here, it was just right after they connected to our consumer and our producer and consumer, right? And after that, you can see this consumer has joined the group, right? Right after consumer is subscribing, that this type of log is giving us, right? So consumer has joined, and right now you can see right after that The server is up, it's fine. And app is listening. Yeah, this is fine. Maybe somehow we have restarted or something. No, this is perfectly fine. Like, right after here, producer till here, it was from our logs from earlier logs. And after that, you can see right after started successfully, then we got the topics, like list of topics, right? And we can see then we are trying to publish the message. Then it says like producer already connected with an existing connection. That means it is not opening a new connections for our producing the messages. That means if you go here in the order route, so this route here we are publishing this message from here. Let me okay, what I did. So maybe I can just like do like this, and you can see here inside this order route, while we are publishing this message, you can see it is publishing the message using the existing producer, right? So that's why this message is showing right here, the producer already connected with existing connection, right? And this is the published result, right? That is exactly coming from our, as soon as we are publishing the message, right? So after successfully send the result, then it is giving back the response, right? And you can see once we have published this message, then it says like consumer received the message. So what kind of message are received by consumer? You can see consumer received, the header is the buffer. That is we are sending it from here, the header, right? And inside the data, you can see this is our event that is called order create or create order. And the data is the order ID, and items are all the existing items. Perfect. So now I hope you've got the idea how Kafka integration is working and how publisher and subscriber are working together, right? So in order to accomplish the communication. So where we have connected our producer and the consumer together. So, and we are listening to our topic right there, right? And as you can see, as soon as if we are going to clean the console right here, as soon as we are sending the request, and it is instantly publishing by our producer, and it is instantly receiving by our consumer as well as, right? So all the communications are happening in real-time streaming, right? Cool. Then in the next episode, what we are going to do, we are going to implement the actual the order functionality, where you can see right now we are sending some kind of mock data from here, right? So what we are going to do, we are going to convert our cart into the order, right? So where we are going to write some kind of the order creation logic, and we will be notified right after that. The catalog service is going to say like, our order has been created, please deduct the stock, right? And before that also, we can verify like the right before placing the order, right? So make sure we have enough capacity to provide the stocks from there, right, in the catalog service. At any point of time, or if our catalog service is out of the stock, right, then certain items, then our catalog service can notify our order service as well as, let's say some of the people, they have just added item to the cart, and it is laying down right there in the cart, let's say for a couple of days. And during that time, our catalog service, that particular items it is out of stock. Then our catalog service can fire some kind of events, just like we did right here in the order service. We are publishing some kind of event, just like an order events, right? So while we are creating order event, then maybe similar kind of events we can fire right there, just like we are going to say out of stock, let's say order item out of stock. So that topic will be subscribed by our order service, right? Then instantly the order service is going to update the cart, like gonna say like this item is out of stock, right? So please modify the item, or maybe the order is not be able to proceed ahead. Those are the edge cases and scenarios we are going to cover together, right? So that's all for today. And in the next episode, as I said, like we are going to cover all the edge cases. And I hope you like this video tutorial, and I would like to see you in another episode. Bye bye.